Hello and welcome to another edition of the Situation Room on Channel One Television, broadcasting from number 5, Ola Hansen Lane at Tesano in Accra, Ghana, West Africa, Africa. My name is Umaru Sandamadu, and this afternoon I'm here with my colleague and co-anchor,
Sami Riafe.
And Sami, I always ask you how the president is doing. How is the president doing?
But the president is well.
Is he in Ghana?
Yeah.
In Ghana?
Yesterday you saw in some appeals court judges.
Yeah,
16 of them.
Including our own
Yawopon, who is now an appeals court judge.
Charlie, my lord.
Very soon he will become a Supreme Court judge.
Interesting. My lord Yawopon. I mean, it's nice. It's nice.
Oh, yeah.
It's good when you know someone like that and then he's getting promoted.
You know, hard work pays, as they say. You know, we all know where he started. Appearing on big issues.
No, there was a show before the big issue called The Point of Law. That's what he used to appear on before the big issue.
I got to know him through Big Issue.
So he's been there long time ago. And he's like one of the best authorities, if not the best authorities on land law, having written a book on land law or immovable property law. And many students in the LLB have had to rely on his book. So he's become like an authority on that, and it's really helpful, and it's exciting to see him climbing up.
I think his last appointment was at Ghana Law School as the
director. He's a current director.
Okay.
He's still the director of the law school, and now he's been made the appeals court judge. Yeah. Now, he could be at the law school on secondment while he still is an appeal court judge. So the day he leaves the directorship properly, he can then go to the court, and then you can see him sitting in a panel presiding over cases. So we can only wish counsel, and he's also a chief too. So,
yeah, very much something.
Of course, yeah. Congratulations on that. This is the Situation Room. We're not coming to talk about legal matters. We're coming to talk about elections, and there's a critical thing we're looking at today. So internationally, in case you're not aware, Joe Biden has withdrawn from the race. So the race in the U.S. is going to be Donald Trump versus one other. Most likely it's going to be Kamala Harris. Now, she's a vice president. Now, there are two parties in the U.S., the Democrats and the Republicans. In the U.K., we have the Conservatives and the Labour Party. It's not as if those are the only two parties, but they are the prominent ones. In Ghana, we have the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party. There's an interesting thing that I've always compared Ghana and the U.S. with in terms of the two parties. In 1992, the president the person who won represented a party called the Democrats, or the Democratic Party in the U.S. In Ghana, the man who represented the party that won is also a Democratic Party, the National Democratic Congress, Jerry Rawlings, and then Mr. Clinton, Bill Clinton. They both got re-elected in 1996, and then in 2000, they both sponsored their running mates or vice presidents to be the next president. So Rawlings put Jonathan Mills there for his party. He lost. In the U.S., Al Gore lost. And so it ushered in new parties, the Republican Party in the U.S., and then the NPP here in Ghana. John Kufuor did his first term, got re-elected in 2004. George Bush also got re-elected. 2008, both George Bush and Kufuor, having retired, hands over their party to a new group of leaders, and then they both lose again. So the Republicans lost to the Democrats, the NPP lost to the Democrats, if you want to use NDC as Democrats here in Ghana. Usher in Atta Mills and Obama. They did their first 4 years. Atta Mills died in the seat. His vice continued, John Mahama. He won re-election. Obama won re-election. 2016, the Democrats lost to Donald Trump, and the NDC in Ghana also lost to the Republicans. And so the NDC in Ghana lost to the NPP, So Nana Akufo-Addo becomes president in 2017, and then it continues. So 2020, now this is what happened. So in 2020, NPP in Ghana won the re-election, but the Republicans in the US lost. So that was the first time that we saw a departure. Otherwise, we've been doing like that. And the funny thing is that they vote November 4 or November 3, we vote December 7, same year, every time. So this year they'll be voting November, we'll be voting in December. And another interesting thing, the wife of the first president of this republic, Jerry Rawlings, ran for president, Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings, and lost. The man he was president with at the same time, Bill Clinton's wife, Hillary Clinton, ran for president and also lost. Just some by way of talking about two-party state. The reason I'm talking about this is that we have two parties that have been in and out of power since 92 in Ghana. But is that what it has to be? The Constitution says you can have multiple parties, so we run a multi-party system, not a dual or a two-party state. That's not what we are doing. It's not also a one-party state like when it was during the Nkrumah era. The question today, really, is the significance of third parties or smaller parties in an electoral process or in a democratic process. That is a conversation we plan to have here today, and that's why I've given you this general view about how the things have been panning out all this year. So we'll take a break and come back. We have a debate like we do on this show, where we're going to take positions. Sami has a position on whether we should maintain the small parties or not, and I also have a position. We do a small debate, and then we introduce someone who is leading, or who was once leading one of the small political parties, who wants to now be a flag bearer. Bernard Mona is the person I'm talking about. So stay with us. This is the Situation Room. You're welcome back to the Situation Room on Channel One Television. My name is Umaru Sandamado, and I'm here with Sami Wiafe. We bring you this show every Thursday between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m., and we repeat it also again for you. Now, what we do on this show is to help you make sense of the running current affairs and political related or election related issues as we build up into the elections of 2024. I have just given you a brief summary there of our relationship with the U.S. and the U.S. is going into an election in 104 days, I think, from now. They don't have a candidate for the governing party because Joe Biden, the president, has withdrawn. So they're going to go into a Congress and possibly endorse the vice president. That's if nobody challenges her. That appears to be the plan. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom recently, we saw an election that was called by the incumbent government, and it lost bigly. And so we have a new government in office. Often what happens in Ghana is that when the change happens in the US, then the opposition party in Ghana will be saying, oh, it is going to happen here. Because I remember in 2008, when Obama won, the NDC at the time campaigning that John Mahama and John Mills were the Obama of Ghana, were saying that, oh, the wind of change is blowing, it will come. The same thing in 2016, when Trump won, of course, the MPP here also said that it's an indication. So just by way of giving you a background. The topic we are looking at today is the role of small political parties in our electoral process, in our democracy. To have them there or not to have them. There are people with the view that these political parties are really not serving any purpose, so let's remove them in our political space because they don't matter, they don't play any role at all. But there are also people who hold the view that no, they are very critical. So today we are going to have a debate. Sami Wiafe has a position, I have a position, and then we have a guest in studio who is from one of the parties who will be joining us. I have taken the position that smaller political parties are very necessary. Sami holds the view that they are not necessary. Let's take them out. Now, my reasons for saying what I have said, and I'm going to just highlight a few of them. These smaller political parties, a lot of the time when there's discontent where Ghanaians are saying that, oh, you're NDC MPP. Who is the best alternative? It is a smaller political party. So they serve as the outlet for Ghanaians who are discontented, and they usually provide this platform for you. So that Ebeko go the Enko corner. If you don't want to do that, then play it to throw. So the small political parties become the throw on the pitch. And then that is one key thing that they offer for our electoral process. They augment political inclusion. So political inclusion is the situation where everybody should be involved. A lot of the times, the two political parties, they are so big, they may not have space for everybody. For instance, persons with disabilities, women, and all of those things. So these smaller parties offer this opportunity. Imagine this. You are in the NDC, it's a huge party, 5 million members. NPP, 5 million members. When will you get recognized? But if you are in the PNC, if you are in the CPP, it's a small political party, you get the chance to also be involved in the political process, in the decision-making process. You are closer to power when you're in a smaller political party than when you are in a bigger political party. So it's one thing that you want to look at. For instance, the issue of inclusion in these parties. The People's National Convention, the Ayakube Party, is on the record as the first political party in Ghana's history since the Fourth Republic to have a running mate who is a woman. Now, mind you, this has become a very big issue now because the largest party, opposition party, the NDC, has chosen a woman. But before the NDC did what they have done, the PNC had offered women that particular opportunity. PNC is not the only party. In fact, at the time, Miss Petra Amegashi, who was chosen in the election of 2008, that's what? 2008 is what? More than 16 years ago. More than 16 years ago, the PNC, you can call, charted that particular path for us. And it was repeated again when Hassan Yariga, their candidate in 2012, also chose a woman. Now, the CPP did a similar thing, nominating Nana Frimpoma Sapon Kumankuma as their running mate. A new thing, a novelty that they offered us in the elections of 2012. That is not all. PPP, the Progressive People's Party, a party that broke away from the CPP, also had a woman, Bridget Jogbenuku, as a running mate. Indeed, she became the flag bearer of the PPP. We haven't had that among the major political parties. So if it's not because of them, you can imagine the role of women. In fact, if you want to talk about persons with disabilities, Ivor Kobina Greenstreet, I agree, no. Look at his role in the Convention People's Party. He's a person with disability. He was offered that particular platform. The NDC and the NPP have not done that. So that is one key platform that these persons benefit from. Another thing, the minority parties contribute to the shaping of public policy. So a lot of the times, because they are almost always ignored, they have a lot of policies that we don't really consider. For instance, the PNC has on record, not PNC, the PPP has on record, no, PNC says that they are the first to have brought the National Health Insurance Scheme idea before John Kufuor implemented it. So you can call them the second-tier football clubs or the Colts football clubs, where they generate the ideas for the bigger parties to take it up and implement. So we should not underestimate the use of these political parties, the small ones. Dr. Edward Mama having come up with that. The PPP proposed the election of MMDCEs. That has become a very topical issue. We almost went into a referendum in the year 2018 to elect MMDCEs. It was the PPP's Papa Kwesi Indom that first brought this idea publicly, and it became a subject of debate. So the ideas are generated from them, the bigger parties take them and run with it. So we should not underestimate what they do. Another reason why we need these small political parties around, the minority parties have shaped and provided human resource. So their human resource has been vast. I have said to you that whenever there's a need for us to have a national development plan, we have to go for them. So they have supplied us with so many resources that have benefited our growth. Go back to John Kufuor's government in 2000. When he came, he said he was going to do an all-inclusive government. What did he do? He brought in people from other political parties. You remember Malam Issa? He was jailed as a sports minister, but he served a very crucial position as Minister for Youth and Sports. He was not a member of the NPP. So Malam Issa, having been chosen, if you come to John Mahama's government, the right-hand man in his cabinet at the time was Dr. Raymond Atuguba, now Professor Raymond Atuguba. He's a member of the People's National Convention, not a member of the NDC. Another person that you could describe, Dr. Papa Kwesi Indom, was Minister for various portfolios in the Kufuor government. He is a member of the CPP, or he was a member of the CPP at the time. He was given key positions like Minister of State for Economic Planning in the Kufuor government. That is not all. Freddie Wasime Oble, he was a member of the CPP. He was in the MPP side of things. He rose to become no meaner person than the chairman of the NPP. And he led them from what you can call a headless opposition into an election victory in 2016 as the acting chairman at the time. Now, this human resource you cannot underestimate. There were several other people. There was Alassane Azong in the Mills government. He was a minister of state, a member of the PNC. Now, when in 2009, we had to look at the party formation in our parliament, where we had to choose how to caucus. If we were looking for what they call coalition government, they would have done a very good job in there, because in 2009 we had as many as 7 members of parliament not being from the NDC or the MPP. PNC had 4 members of parliament. CPP had 3 members of parliament, including the daughter of the first president of the land, Sami Nkrumah. So they have played a very crucial role in building our democracy. In fact, Alassane Azong was playing a very critical role in the House of Parliament. Freddie Blay, who was not a member of the NPP, or a member of the NDC was a speaker, a deputy speaker of the House. Now, that human resource would have gone to waste if we had not tolerated these small political parties, because you would then be forced to either be blue or green. Now, if you don't want to be either, what happens to you? Which means, imagine if someone like Sami Nkrumah, for instance, decides that, I don't believe in the NDC, I don't believe in the MPP. Now, if there's no third option, what happens to her? She could have never gone to Parliament. Freddie Blair would have never come to Parliament on the ticket of the CPP. I mean, the man who is leading the PNC now, David Apasara, wouldn't have gotten to Parliament. And these are people who have been helping shape our national discourse. It is because we tolerate and accept the smaller political parties to be in our election space. Now, let's look at instances where small political parties have won elections globally. And this happens a lot of the time. So you'd hear that there's an upset. Someone who really was not expected to win or who's not been tipped to win has ended up winning an election in one country or another. In America, in the United States of America, we haven't had that situation. However, we are told that in the year 2016 and 2000, the winner of the Electoral College vote did not win the popular vote. And this is attributed to the success of the third parties or the smaller parties. The Americans have a party called the Green Party, for instance, played a very critical role. In France, Macron, the current president, was not a rightist. In the French policy, they had a rightist and a leftist. Macron was neither left nor right. He was what they called a centrist. He won the elections in 2017 with as many as 66% of the votes, and he formed a government and won a re-election. Now, if we did not tolerate third parties, he wouldn't have done that well in that election to have become president. In Benin, in our own Benin, not far from here, just one country away from us, Yayi Boni, in 2009, won the election there, and he broke ranks from the main parties that we knew in the Republic of Benin and became the president. He came to visit us here. In fact, the inauguration of John Mahama as president in 2013, he was the one who gave the, visitor speech or guest speech or something like that on January 7, 2013, when John Mahama was being sworn in as president. So Yayi Boni, a very critical member of the ECOWAS sub-region at the time when he played this role, he was not from any of the parties. Article 55 of our Constitution, 1992, guarantees that there shall be a multi-party system and that the political party formation is guaranteed. You can wake up and form a party, I can get up and form a party. The Constitution said we should do that, and that one-party state has been abhorred, two-party state has been abroad, we have a multi-party state. The Constitution was formulated by, if you read the preamble, we the people. Now, we the people means yourself, myself, the cobbler, the shoemaker, now the cobbler, the hairdresser, all these people coming together. And we do know how the 1992 Constitution, the Constituent Assembly, we know what the people who were there were like. They were not your elites, so that you say it was the elites who went in there and just decided that this is a law. It was we the people came up with the law in the Constituent Assembly, and we decided that we want multiple parties. One of the biggest things that critics of Nkrumah have had against him is the introduction of the one-party state in the 60s. They have said that it was undemocratic. Now, if one-party state at the time was undemocratic, two-party state is equally undemocratic because you are restricting freedom of people to choose. What small parties need now? One, give them equal airtime and publication in the press, and this stated in the Constitution. Sami Wiafe should be allowing the other smaller parties to engage in a discourse. Do not insist that only NDC and MPP show up. It is that reason that is killing the small political parties. Give them a chance. The Constitution dictates that we should do that. Panels should feature them. Give them a chance at the table. Let us hear from them. If you watch Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum in the debate of election 2008, see how powerful, see how eloquent he was. He delivered, and he showed us that the smaller parties had what he really got. And he could have easily formed a government if he won. So we need that. Mind you, a newly formed third party, GUM, led by Sopho Trabosom, did so well that there was a third party in our last election. If they were irrelevant, people would not be voting for them. Let's not kill the small political parties. Let us promote them. At the time that people are asking for a third force, you can definitely not be advocating for the disappearance of these parties. I do not disagree, and I'll be very disappointed if Sami Yafi comes to make a contrary view. That people are saying, we are tired of these two parties, let's go for a third one. And you are saying that, no, let's stick so that you're either going right or left. You remember what Kwame Nkrumah said? We are neither looking east nor west, we're looking forward. Forward is a third party. Let's bring them in there. We have to introduce in there. In George Orwell's Animal Farm, and if you don't know George Orwell, he wrote fiction which was based on political satire or political fables. He wrote a book titled Animal Farm. Every political science student has read Animal Farm. Every student of government has read Animal Farm. In the end of Animal Farm, the animals that were peeping through the window, looking at their new rulers who are the pigs versus the animals that they had ousted. The lines says they were looking from pig to man and from man back to pig. And it was not clear which one was which. Both were drunk. You don't want two drunken men as your two options. Get a third sober man. And that third sober man is a third political party. I respectfully submit. Thank you. Sami Yafi, over to you.
Umaru Sanda.
Yes.
I enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you. You will have no choice than to enjoy.
I really
Unless you are
enjoyed your
undemocratic, you will
I
not.
really enjoyed your
No, be at
presentation.
your position. Why come to push me away? You are pushing small parties. You want to also push me from my base. They your corner.
I enjoyed your conversation.
If you are Democrat, any Democrat
But
would enjoy the conversation.
I will say and argue my point that even though you raise very important and valid points,
okay,
I raised some objection with some of the things you said in there.
Your opposition will always oppose. Go ahead.
Argue my way out and let you know why I feel the smaller political parties are not really needed. Or if you ask me, we can do without them as far as our current democratic dispensation is concerned. You raised a few issues in your presentation, and I feel I want to bring those issues up for possible discussion. The issue about disabilities and women. In your presentation, you make mention that indeed, if you're in a smaller political party, you may be given the opportunity and chance to be recognized in your state as a physically challenged or disabled person. Just in this government, some few years ago, a physically challenged individual was appointed as the regional minister for the Oti region. He's from the MPP. He's not from a smaller political party, but he was recognized by this administration and was appointed as a minister. In the former NDC administration, a visually impaired person, the name just escaped me, was appointed, I think, as a deputy attorney general or attorney general, one of them. He's in a bigger political party, not a smaller political party, but was recognized and given an appointment to serve in this administration. So if my colleague Umaru Sanda says you are only recognized if you are physically challenged, you are more recognized as a smaller political party than the bigger one, I disagree. I make my point in this way. The two-party state system started way back in our colonial era. The Ghana that we know now from our history have always known two-party states. Let's go back to pre-independence or post-independence. There were two known political parties, the CPP and the UGCC. The two main political parties were formed in the struggle for our democracy, in the struggle for our independence. The UGCC said independence within the shortest possible time. The CPP says independence now if possible. I'm not quoting verbatim, I'm just making a statement to that effect. So since independence, Ghana has known only two political parties or two state political parties. Even though years went by, there were other political parties that came up. They all had their root from these two political parties, the CPP and the UGCC. In the 70s, you had the UP, the PPP, and the rest, all having their history from the UGCC. We had the Liban Party, the PNP, also having their root from the Nkrumah's party, which was the CPP. Until today, 2024, The political parties we have in Ghana, the dominant ones, which is the NPP and the NDC, all trace their root from these two political parties. So from history, pre-independence or post-independence, we've all had two political parties, and these parties have always traced their root from these two political parties, the CPP and the UGCC. Now, since 1996, the NPP and the NDC have always captured 97% of vote cast, 97%, with the smaller political parties sharing only the 3% since 1996. In 1996, let's start from 1992, 13 political parties, but before the main election, it went down. The main dominant parties were the NPP and the NDC. In 1996, it was NPP NDC. 2000, NPP NDC. 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020. And in 2024, it will be NPP NDC. My colleague Umar Osanda makes the argument that these smaller political parties are needed. I feel we can go without them. Let's go for IPAC meetings. You have all these political parties in there. But when it comes to decision-making, it's always between the NPP and the NDC. And these political parties either side with the NPP or the NDC, depending on the party in power. My colleague Hansen Ajeman goes to IPAC meetings for City TV, City FM and ChannelOne TV. And he always tells us that these political parties are either siding with the NPP or the NDC. When it comes to decision-making, they don't make their own decision. They always want to make these decisions based on the size of both the NDC and the NPP. And we see them in several instances. So why should we still have these parties then when they are still towing the lines of the big political parties, which is the NDC and the NPP? Financial resources is always important in the formation of political party and its activities. Apart from the NDC and the NPP, which other smaller political parties have the financial muscle to mobilize and build structures? Per the Political Party Act, every political party is supposed to have a party office in every constituency, which is the 275 constituencies in this country. Apart from NPP and NDC, do these smaller political parties have offices across the country? Even some don't even have regional offices. Talk about constituency offices. But yet, it's the NPP and the NDC who have offices scattered across the country. If the EC should go strictly with the Political Parties Act, I'm sure these smaller political parties will be disbanded in this country and they will not have a say. They will just have to go and join the bigger political parties, which is the NPP and the NDCs. Financial muscle here is more important, very, very important in politics. If you do not have the financial muscle, don't think of engaging in politics or don't think of forming a political party. Because if the AC is supposed to go strictly with the laws, I'm not sure these smaller political parties will exist in the country's book. The last time the EC says that over 16 to 17 political parties in Ghana, apart from the NPP and the NDC, the CPP and the PNC, which other political parties do Ghanaians know? Today, talk to an 18-year-old person who will be voting for the first time in December and ask him or her which party or which parties he or she knows. Only two parties will come to mind, which is the NPP and the NDC. The more reason why I feel we can do without these small political parties and concentrate solely on the two bigger parties, which is the NPP and the NDC. Another point, smaller political parties all have their roots from the NPP and the NDC, as I said earlier. Look at all of them. The PPP, the PNC, the CPP, and the rest, they have antecedents. They all have their history. They've all known where they come from. It's either from the UGCC or the CPP, which have all come to metamorphose to whatever political party we are having in this country today. So my argument that we should have a two political party system in Ghana, I buttress it with this point. The cost of running office, money is important, as I mentioned earlier. The small political parties do not have these resources that we are talking about. The more reason why we should not have them, we can do without them, and then do with the bigger political parties. If we have a two-party state in this country, it gives voters options. The option is that if NDC is not good, they have the option of the NDC, or vice versa. Now, if you have other political parties scattered, the smaller political parties scattered, if a voter is undecided, I'm not sure that person may want to listen to the smaller political parties in this country and do with the other political party. Since 1992, it's always been the MPP and the NDC. Anytime we are done with an election, the next thing you see or you hear is the other political party, which is the main opposition party, having to start criticizing the government one way or the other, even before an election even starts. So it's always been the two parties we have in Ghana, and it is not going to stop any time from now. We live in a country where these two political parties have dominated political discussion. Let there be a national issue. The only people you hear in this conversation is the MPP or the NDC. The budget was read recently, just yesterday. The main people opposing the budget is the NDC, which is the minority in parliament. Have we heard any of the smaller political parties making arguments or counter-arguments about the budget that was read by the finance minister yesterday? No. It is only the minority in parliament, which is the NDC, which is making the talking or doing the talking, because they are the only option available to the Ghanaian voter. They feel that if the MPP doesn't do well, the next option available to them is the NDC. And so they are doing more of the talking. Recently, their flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, is campaigning across the country, telling Ghanaians why he feels that the MPP has failed and that he is the next option to govern this country. He's from the NDC, another bigger political party in Ghana. Have we had the smaller political party? The smaller parties that are not even going to elect their presidential candidates, talk about their parliamentary candidates. Meanwhile, these two political parties are set. They have their presidential candidates, their running mates, and all parliamentary candidates in 275 constituencies. Do the smaller political parties have? They don't. Recently, I heard the CPP now drawing up its timetable, and they said that by ending of August, they will be done with their primaries and they know who they are going to elect for their presidential candidates for an election which is 5 months away. 5 months away. Meanwhile, the two bigger political parties have had their election somewhere last year. The MPP completed it recently with the announcement of their running mates. This tells you that the two political parties, the bigger ones, are ready for the election compared to the smaller political parties. So I feel that, and I make the argument that Ghana's democracy as we have now and the election as we have now, we can do without the two or the smaller political parties. My next point, two-party state gives political stability in the sense that a typical example is what happened in the UK. There was an election. The next day, the Labour won. The next day, they formed the government, and the government has started running. So there's always the option for a standby government or a government in waiting, in the sense that whilst the government is running and doing its activities for governance, the opposition party is readying itself as a government in waiting. We saw in the UK, immediately Labour won the election. The next day, the new Prime Minister formed his government, and work has started already. If there was a smaller political party, we are relying on a smaller political party, are they now going to galvanize their people to come and do whatever they want? And in Ghana, per our constitutional structure, if a smaller party should win an election, majority of its ministers or deputy ministers must come from parliament. Do they have that muscle? Do they have those people in parliament to get them selected and get them to form the next government? That is impossible. The dominant political parties, as we have in our parliament now, is the MPP and the NDC. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. The sort of politics we are practicing in this country and the future that we see for ourselves, I'm not sure any small political party can make any role as far as this country's democratic dispensation is concerned. There's check and balances because the opposition party is always keeping the government on its toes. A typical example, when the president or this government wanted to implement certain policies and plans, they were rejected because the opposition raised issues with them. It was a government in waiting. They opposed some of these things, and some of these things were shelved. Some of these things didn't come to pass. And so if you have a bigger political party in opposition, they will hold the government in check and ensure that the right things are done. If we leave it to these small political parties, they do not have the muscle, do not even have the financial model to mobilize and get people to oppose some of these things, which definitely will not work. My final point, it is easier for voters to make a choice if you have two parties in the country. If option A is not good, the next election, option B is there. A typical example is what happened in UK recently. The UK voter felt that the Conservative Party wasn't doing what was right. They went in for the Labour Party. The Labour Party won the election. So two options. If this is not good, the other person or the other administration will come in to do what is necessary. So my argument, my colleague Umaru mentioned and quoted the Constitution. Article 55 says that we should make room for all other smaller political parties. But he's forgotten that Parliament has the power to revoke that particular clause in the Constitution. Hold on. You made your point.
No, but I'm not going to let you do this. No. Parliament cannot. In fact, the Constitution says Parliament shall not.
Umaru, you made...
Okay, fine.
Umaru, you made your point. Made your point.
Continue, okay.
The laws in these countries are made by the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana.
And you're not correct.
And it is only the Parliament of Ghana that can make and unmake laws.
That's not true.
Umaru mentioned Article 55. Parliament has that power to take out that particular clause and make it a two-party state, which is very possible and is happening in other parts of the country. So my argument this afternoon is that we can do without the smaller political parties in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sami Wiafi. Sami, the Constitution says that Parliament shall not enact any law that would impose a one-party state on us. And I'm not even sure it says that. I'm
not saying a one-party state.
And the same applies to...
The argument is not about one-party states.
The Constitution in 55 says the formation of political parties is guaranteed. So this is your matter. The Parliament cannot go and sit there and decide that they are banning political parties. They will not do that. I have a right of rejoinder, but I want to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll just respond briefly to what Sami has said, and then
there's no need to respond. There's no need to respond. You made your point. I also made my point. You're still watching the Situation Room coming to you live on ChannelOne. We'll go for a quick break. When we are back, our guest for today, Bernard Mona, he wants to be president of Ghana on the ticket of the People's National Convention.
A small political party.
Smaller political party. We'll be back after this break.
You're welcome back. This is the Situation Room on ChannelOne Television. My name is Umaru Sandamado, and your name is?
Sami Wiafi.
And we've just had a debate there for you. Sami's position is that we don't need small political parties. I said we need small political parties. We have in studio someone who has been national chairman of a small political party. In fact, it has been a party that won elections before, I think 89, is it? Or it is, yeah, I think 89, yes. Hilal Liman's party. He now wants to be flag bearer of the same party, the PNC, an antecedent of the PMP. Bernard Mona, please join us. Come up stage. I know you'll be on my side. I know you'll be on my side.
Mr. President.
Good to see you.
Okay, if I say incoming flag bearer, it means I'm being biased, but flag bearer hopeful of the PNC. You're welcome, sir.
Next president of Ghana.
Okay.
He wants us to address him, Mr. President.
Okay, we call him Mr. President. Sami Wiafi thinks that your parties they are useless for a number of things. You people are not ready. You don't play any significant role. You don't have regional offices. You don't have constituency offices. In fact, you are a waste of our political space. What's your response for that before we ask you about your own campaign?
First and foremost, Sami is so narrow to the politics of the globe. Can you tell me in which state you can find an office of the Democrat or an office of the Republicans or an office location of the Labour Party or that of the Conservative Party? So what it tells you is that we have decided to impose a certain responsibility that really does not have any significance. You are talking about the capacity of a party to hold meetings, to rendezvous. And so if we choose that under my tama tree, share tree, we will sit there and we'll be able to hold meetings and hold discussions in our communities, and that is acceptable. We'll get enough ventilation. We are able to produce minutes and understanding of what we do. You say that you want a physical location. If you can always find me sitting around that place, I think that it constitutes more than an office. These days, this is your gadget. Mm-hmm. My office is on my gadget, on the move. Everything you want to get on the world, you get. And so physical offices necessarily does not mean the presence of a political party. When you called me this morning, I was on my way to Koforidua to meet with party people. And if as you can see, I wish that you can see that I'm on a campaign. And so we had meetings, and where we had a meeting, you cannot say that this is a designated PNC office. In fact, the call of Sami has led to what I now call sheds that are being created. And if you go around our country, you know that every community you go to, there is a shed for NDC, there is a shed for MPP, there is a shed for PNC. And they are competing. So if you are not a PNC member, you cannot even...
But that's what the political parties act says.
But you see, I am saying that you are talking about...
I'm basing my argument based on the act.
But reality has dawned on us that at the time this act was being promulgated, we had only what? Landlines. We didn't have mobile phones. Today, in fact, when we used to have typewriters, not computers, at the time the act was formulated. We moved into desktop computers, the big one, the box one. Today you have laptops. You used to move from here, and I used to crush you at the busy internet. We were all struggling to do internet. Today the internet is in your palm. So things have moved. You are not saying that our laws are so dogmatic, so static, that they cannot rhyme with the times. So yes, you are still living in the old age, and Umar is living with the modern age.
I'm not living in the old age. I'm basing my argument on the existing law.
And I'm saying
as far as there's no amendment to the law,
I'm saying that
we'll stick to
no,
it.
you can live with that law. But I'm saying that, what is your definition of an office?
A structure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I can just paint anything and it's an office.
There's something called Microsoft Office. Everything is on it.
Do you understand? So when you are talking about really an office, then we will go to what is the definition of an office.
Ben, what about the other issues outside a physical office that he raises? So
I don't know about
how ready are small parties? He says that in the UK, the same day that the Conservatives lost, he went to tell the king that, Charlie, I have handed over. Then the king invited the Labour guy. He comes and he forms his government. There and then things continue. Is PNC ready like that? Is CPP ready like that? He thinks you are not, and it looks like you are not.
Oh, no, to be honest with you, over the past, this is what I've been saying, that the party PNC has a potent message, and you will not deny that. Nobody denies the fact that, look, at the time when students of this country were engaged in the mob power struggles, and Jerry Rawlings and his team led soldiers to be shooting students and killing them, the PNC advice was that these are going to be the next leaders of our nation. Why do you go and shoot them? Because they are saying that they will not participate in cost sharing. So let's institute a national education trust fund to be able to contain the rising cost of education. Today, Guest Fund is in place. So it means that the message of the PNC is acceptable and welcome to the people of Ghana. What they didn't welcome is the messenger. When you talk about the issue of even the Ministry of Zongo, Children and Water Affairs, it was the PNC policy proposition that President Kufuor and others debated. You recall Edward Mahama in the 2000 presidential debate, when the BBC, led by Kweku Sechi-Ado, came and said that, look, Edward Mahama and the PNC are supposed to be the government of the day. Unfortunately, they will not win the elections because they don't carry the resources of the country. If you talk about national health insurance, who doesn't know where we came from? Cash and carry. The PNC said that that is not the way to go. Our hospitals had become graveyards. Today, that message of the PNC is what is saving many lives. But over the years, it is the messenger that has not been accepted.
But the message has been accepted.
To say today you have a messenger who will be accepted by you and by you, and I am sure.
Because the messenger doesn't have a working vehicle. So you take what the message is and leave the messenger.
Today I rhyme with you so much that, look, there are many, there are many guys in town who will not call off the bluff of Bernard Bonner. You understand what I mean? And then they understand what I'm worth. We have been in the trenches together. So today, if you are growing beard and you are putting on some weight, we have been together. And I'm saying that the way we rhyme, the understanding that we have put together, the difficulties that we have, our understanding of the economy of Ghana and how we will find common platform to resolve the challenges, no one is in doubt that we have the capacity to do so. So, hey, stop thinking of the old and start thinking of the new.
Sami, come in. You are the one who is opposed. Dig in.
Ben, let's talk about you. Why do you want to lead the PNC and become president of Ghana?
It is not just the PNC. It is why do I want to become president?
No, first of all, you must lead the PNC first.
I'm saying that first of all, the bottom line is that I want to become president. Leading the PNC.
But you need the PNC as a vehicle.
Will this young man allow me to talk?
He's not young. He lost
young.
his hair.
No. As for that, first, I want to become president of Ghana.
Okay.
I want to use the channel or the crucible called PNC to become president of Ghana. So the end is that I need to become president of Ghana. How do I get there? I think that I should pass through the People's National Convention that I have been youth organizer for, I have been general secretary for, I've been national chairman for, that I understand the ins and outs of the
You've
party.
been parliamentary candidate for, you forgot that one.
In fact, parliamentary candidate for 2 different constituencies, right? So in all, I can say that I have an accumulated experience of over 20 years wanting to lead myself into parliament. And now what I see, and yesterday I was just saying one of the things, we are born into debt. Other nations, they are born into wealth. Why are they born into wealth? They are born into wealth because they have courageous leaders, bold leadership, that have been able to surmount the resources of their nations to belong to them and not to belong to those who just bring in capital. So I always cite the example of President Gaddafi. When he came, Libya had only 17% of the resources of Libya. He said, no, this is not the way to go. He channeled and got 79% of Libyan resources. So much that Libya, a desert country, now transmogrified into a green country. They had a man-made lake, they had fish, they had everything. In addition to that, if you were Libyan and you didn't want to attain education in Libya, Gaddafi made it possible for you to get that education paid for by the state, and you still had $2,500 stipends a month. Have you gotten some in your life before?
No.
So this is what leadership can do. The resources of Ghana, yes, are in the name of Ghana, but we don't own them. And I always cite, look, we had Ghana Telecom. What did we do? We sold it plus it's one touch. Today, over the 20 million active subscribers of mobile phones in this country, each of us on the average, we use 10 Ghana cedis a day. Multiply 10 Ghana cedis a day by 20 million. How much money? 200 million a day times 365 million days. How much money do you get? Just by using mobile phones, data, and voice. We don't get a dime except tax and royalties. Some other people take that money that we generate. They carry it, and they don't carry it in cedis. Remember, they generate that amount of money because they have to carry it to Australia, to South Africa, and to other places. They will carry it in dollars. Do you create dollars in Ghana? So they carry the money, they take it in dollars, and they fly away. Your economy will suffer depreciation of your currency because companies that are supposed to be doing well, they are doing well, but the resources don't stay with you. And I'm saying that let's take control of it. That is one. So that the people of Ghana can know that what belongs to us is for us.
Bernard, it's 2024. You're preaching nationalizing assets and businesses. Is that your plan?
There's nothing wrong with nationalization.
Is that a working thing?
That is what I think we should do.
Considering that all the nationalized assets have been problems for us.
The non-national
Ghana Telecom was sold because it was not.
And when it was sold, what happened? There have been massive layoffs.
Yes.
Job losses. Incomes have declined. Yeah. Your economy is in shambles. To what benefit has that brought you?
At least you don't have a burden on your hands.
Which burden?
A burden,
the burden that we now listen.
Running a company that would keep making losses.
Take it this way. Take it this way. You see, when you listen to those in authority, and they keep deceiving you. Just yesterday, we listened to, was it yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah, we listened to the finance minister telling us that our economy is healthy. Our economy is doing well. GDP is growing. Do you understand what it means to say GDP is growing? It means that the wealth of your nation is growing. The wealth of your nation is growing and you are borrowing. You have borrowed so much that you cannot repay. You have to go and negotiate. That look, the borrowed monies that I need to pay now, please, let me pay them in 2035. Will Dr. Amin Adam, will he be Minister for Finance by then?
Problem carried forward. Let's talk about your
So do you understand? You don't have anything.
Bernard,
your denationalization has led you to massive poverty.
Let's talk about you and your party. You want to be flag bearer of a party that is in chaos. Your party just gave birth to a coconut giving birth to palm nuts, led by your former General Secretary, the position you once occupied. Your party doesn't look serious. Why are you wasting your time there? And I'm using wasting your time with a lot of respect.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, people join political parties on volition. And when you are dissatisfied, you can leave, right? People join religions on their own accord and they decide that they can leave. The only thing that you cannot join with evolution is your tribe. I am a Dagao. Nothing will change me from being a Dagao.
You chew dog meat.
Nobody can stop me from that. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I drink my pito.
Yeah.
I mean, that is my tradition. You belong to your Akan. You belong to wherever you belong. That is the only thing you cannot change in the world. In fact, in some time, they used to say that we can change everything except change a man into a woman. But today, I think that principle has been invalidated. So anybody can join any political party, and you can also decide to move. I am saying that in the year 2000, when the UGM was formed as a breakaway from the New Patriotic Party, the New Patriotic Party won elections. I am saying that when Konadu decided to become bold and to form his NDP, NDC won the elections. And so, if it is our time to win, in fact, in the year 2016, when Paula Foko, Kwabena Japan, Sami Crab, and others were beaten and wangled and thrown out, the NPP won elections. So, if it is our time to win, particularly so that I am the next president of Ghana that you so much cherish, I can tell you that let those who want to break away, we will try to bring them. But if they say no, we will still get other people to come in. Look,
we're wrapping up.
This is a house.
We're wrapping up. In 30
we have
seconds,
one door, but we have many windows. People can come through the window.
In wrapping up, 30 seconds, talk to your PNC folks why they should vote for Bernard.
Well, policy-wise, we are well contained. Anybody that knows, and I've been inviting you to come to the office. You see that we are well organized. We have been thinking about this day. And you remember when I was youth organizer, you asked me what is the next game? And I told you that watch my step. When you are a classroom teacher, you expect that one day you become the Director General. When you are a police corporal, you expect that one day you become the IGP. As youth organizer, I was working myself so that today I can become the next president of Ghana. I have grown myself. I have the connections. I have the rapprochement to be able to go out there and to win you to come and join me. Sami, even in your initial comment saying that smaller political parties should not. You see that I've managed to bring you on my side. This is the kind of candidate you need, and the PNC delegates will certainly rhyme with me.
Thank you so much, Bernard Mona, former chairman of PNC, wanting to be flag bearer of the PNC now, the People's National Convention. My name is Umaru Sandamado. I did this with Sami Wiafe. We'll be back next week. Thank you. Keep watching Channel One TV.